Last Thursday at 2:47 p.m., I got a call from my nephew's principal that made no sense. "Mrs. Chen," she said, "we need to discuss Tyler's behavior. He defended a bully today, and we're very concerned." I thought she had it backwards. Tyler was the sweetest 12-year-old kid I knew. Surely she meant he defended someone from a bully, right? But when I discovered the real reason why Tyler stood up for the school's most feared bully, it broke my heart and changed everything I thought I knew about childhood cruelty, family secrets, and what it really means to show courage when no one is watching. My name is Sarah Chen, and I'm about to tell you a story that will make you question everything you think you know about bullies, victims, and the invisible battles kids fight every single day. This isn't just about a misunderstood phone call from a school principal. It's about a 12-year-old boy who saw something the adults missed, who chose compassion over conformity, and who taught me that sometimes the people who seem the strongest are actually the most broken. By the end of this story, you'll understand why the kid everyone fears might be the one who needs help the most, and why sometimes defending the bad guy is the most heroic thing you can do. Let me tell you about Tyler first, because understanding him is crucial to understanding why this story matters so much. Tyler is my sister's son, but he's been living with me for the past 2 years since my sister deployed overseas with the military. He's quiet, thoughtful, and has this incredible ability to see the good in everyone. The kind of kid who brings home stray cats and asks if we can keep them. The kind of kid who saves his allowance to buy Christmas presents for kids whose families can't afford them. Tyler had been at Roosevelt Middle School for exactly 4 months when I got that phone call. He'd transferred there when he came to live with me, leaving behind all his friends and everything familiar. Starting over at a new school is hard enough for any kid, but Tyler had the added challenge of dealing with his mom being deployed and living with his aunt instead of his parents. For those 4 months, Tyler had been doing great. His grades were good, his teachers liked him, and he'd even made a few friends. He never complained about school, never came home with stories about drama or problems. I thought he was adjusting perfectly. That's why the principal's call was so shocking. "Mrs. Chen, I'm calling about an incident that happened during lunch today. Tyler was involved in a physical altercation." My heart sank. Tyler had never been in a fight in his life. What happened? Is he hurt? Tyler isn't hurt, but I'm afraid he was defending Marcus Williams. I'm sure you've heard about Marcus Williams. I hadn't heard about Marcus Williams, but the way Principal Rodriguez said his name made it clear I should have. "I'm sorry, but I don't understand," I told her. "Tyler defended someone? That doesn't sound like something he'd need to get in trouble for." There was a pause on the other end of the line. "Mrs. Chen, Marcus Williams is our most problematic student. He's been suspended 3 times this year for bullying, fighting, and intimidating other students. When I say Tyler defended him, I mean Tyler physically stepped in to protect Marcus from other students who were retaliating." This made even less sense. So Tyler was protecting a bully from other kids? Yes. And frankly, we're concerned about Tyler's judgment. Marcus is not the kind of student we want our other children associating with, let alone defending. I told Principal Rodriguez I'd be there in 20 minutes to pick up Tyler and discuss the situation. During the drive to Roosevelt Middle School, my mind was racing. This was so unlike Tyler. He was empathetic, yes, but he was also smart. Why would he risk getting in trouble to defend someone who was apparently terrorizing other students? I kept thinking about the Tyler I knew, the kid who cried when we had to return a lost dog to its owner because he'd gotten attached, the kid who spent his own birthday money to buy a gift for a classmate whose parents couldn't afford to contribute to the class party. That Tyler wouldn't defend a bully unless there was something I was missing. Roosevelt Middle School felt different that day. Maybe it was my anxiety, but the hallways seemed longer, the fluorescent lights harsher. I'd been there for parent-teacher conferences and school events, but never for a disciplinary meeting. Principal Rodriguez's office was exactly what you'd expect. Motivational posters, filing cabinets, and that particular smell of industrial cleaning supplies and stress that all school administrative offices seem to have. Tyler was sitting in a chair outside her office, looking small and worried. When he saw me, his face crumpled with relief. "Aunt Sarah, I can explain everything." "We'll talk in a minute, buddy. Let me speak with Principal Rodriguez first." Principal Rodriguez was a woman in her 50s with kind eyes but a tired expression. She'd clearly dealt with more than her share of difficult situations. "Thank you for coming so quickly, Mrs. Chen. I want to start by saying that Tyler isn't in serious trouble. But we are concerned about this incident and what it might indicate about his decision-making." She pulled out a folder and opened it to reveal what looked like an incident report. At approximately 12:30 p.m. today, during lunch period, a group of 7th grade students cornered Marcus Williams near the dumpsters behind the cafeteria. From what we've been able to piece together, they were confronting him about his behavior toward other students. Confronting him how? They were pushing him, calling him names, and from what witnesses said, it was escalating towards something more serious. That's when Tyler appeared. Principal Rodriguez looked at her notes. According to multiple witnesses, Tyler stepped between Marcus and the other boys and told them to stop. When they didn't, Tyler, he got physical. Tyler pushed one of the boys away from Marcus and told them all to leave Marcus alone. The other boys were shocked. Tyler is new, smaller than most of them, and not someone they expected to interfere. But Tyler stood his ground. I was trying to picture quiet, gentle Tyler physically confronting a group of older boys. It seemed impossible. What happened next? The other boys backed down, but not before calling Tyler some very unpleasant names and telling him that he'd regret it when Marcus turned on him too. Principal Rodriguez closed the folder. "Mrs. Chen, I've been doing this for 20 years, and I've never seen anything quite like it." Tyler risked his own social standing and physical safety to defend a child that everyone else, including most of the faculty, considers a lost cause. "You think Marcus is a lost cause?" She sighed. "Marcus Williams has been a problem since kindergarten. He's aggressive, defiant, and has made life miserable for dozens of students over the years. His home situation is complicated. We've tried everything. Counseling, behavior plans, alternative consequences. Nothing works." After my meeting with Principal Rodriguez, it was time to hear Tyler's side of the story. We sat in her office together, and I could see Tyler was nervous, but determined to explain himself. "Aunt Sarah, I know what everyone thinks about Marcus. I know he's done bad things to other kids, but there's something nobody knows." "What is it, Tyler?" Tyler looked down at his hands. Marcus wasn't bullying those kids because he's mean. He was protecting someone. This was getting more confusing by the minute. Protecting someone from what? From his dad. The room went quiet. Principal Rodriguez leaned forward, suddenly very interested. "Tyler, what do you mean?" Tyler took a deep breath and began to tell us something that would change everything we thought we knew about Marcus Williams. "A few weeks ago, I was walking home from school and I took the long way because I wanted to stop at the corner store. I saw Marcus walking ahead of me and he turned into this apartment complex I'd never noticed before." Tyler paused, gathering his courage to continue. "I wasn't following him or anything, but I heard yelling coming from one of the apartments. Really loud, scary yelling. And then I heard Marcus's voice, and he sounded different. Not tough like at school. He sounded scared." "What did you hear?" I asked gently. A man was screaming at someone, calling them stupid and worthless. And then I heard Marcus say, "Don't hurt her, Dad. I'll take the punishment instead. Just don't hurt Mom." My heart sank. Principal Rodriguez's expression had completely changed. "Tyler, did you see what was happening?" "Not really, but I heard enough. Marcus's dad was drunk and angry, and he was going to hurt Marcus's mom. So Marcus made himself the target instead." Tyler continued his story, and with each detail, a heartbreaking picture began to emerge. After that, I started paying attention to Marcus at school, really paying attention, and I noticed things. What kind of things? Like how he only gets aggressive when someone mentions family stuff, or how he always eats lunch alone, not because kids won't sit with him, but because he doesn't want anyone to see that he only has a peanut butter sandwich every day, sometimes not even that. Tyler looked up at us with tears in his eyes, and I noticed that he never picks on kids who are actually weak. He only goes after kids who are popular or confident, kids who can handle it. Principal Rodriguez was taking notes now. Her entire demeanor shifted from disciplinary to investigative. "Tyler, are you saying you think Marcus's bullying behavior is—" "I think Marcus learned that if you're scary, people leave you alone. And if people leave you alone, they don't ask questions about why you have bruises or why you're always tired or why you flinch when adults raise their voices." The pieces were falling into place in a way that made my heart ache. Tyler continued, "I started watching Marcus more, and I realized something else. He never actually hurts anyone. He threatens, he yells, he acts tough, but I've never seen him actually hurt another kid. It's all for show." "But Tyler," Principal Rodriguez interjected, "we have multiple reports of Marcus intimidating other students, making them feel unsafe." "I know, and that's wrong. But I think Marcus doesn't know any other way to protect himself. At home, he has to be tough to protect his mom. At school, he has to be tough to protect himself from questions he can't answer." Tyler wiped his eyes with his sleeve. "When I saw those boys cornering Marcus today, I saw something nobody else saw. Marcus wasn't fighting back. He was just taking it, just like he probably takes it at home. So when those boys were pushing Marcus and calling him names, I couldn't just watch, because I knew that Marcus goes home every day to more of the same thing. And I thought, what if nobody ever stands up for him? What if he thinks the whole world is against him?" Principal Rodriguez set down her pen. "Tyler, these are very serious allegations about Marcus's home life. If what you're saying is true—" "I know it's true. Last week, Marcus came to school with a black eye. When Mrs. Patterson asked about it, he said he fell off his bike. But I saw him after school that day, and his bike was fine. Plus, the bruise was in a weird place for a bike accident." Tyler looked between Principal Rodriguez and me. "I think Marcus acts like a bully at school because it's the only place where he has any control. At home, he's powerless. But at school, if everyone's afraid of him, then no one gets close enough to see that he's scared too." What happened next moved quickly. Principal Rodriguez immediately contacted the school's social worker and began the process of investigating Tyler's concerns about Marcus's home situation. But first, she wanted to talk to Marcus himself. "Tyler, would you be willing to be present when I speak with Marcus? I think he might be more likely to open up if you're there, since you're the first person who's shown him kindness in a long time." Tyler nodded without hesitation. 20 minutes later, Marcus Williams walked into Principal Rodriguez's office. He was exactly what you'd expect from Tyler's description. Tall for his age, with an expression that dared anyone to mess with him. But when he saw Tyler sitting there, his tough facade cracked just a little. "What's he doing here?" Marcus asked, but his voice lacked its usual edge. "Tyler is here because he's concerned about you, Marcus. He told us some things that we need to discuss." Marcus's eyes went wide with panic. "What did you tell them?" he asked Tyler, his voice rising. "I told them the truth," Tyler said quietly. About your dad, about what you're really protecting. For a moment, I thought Marcus was going to explode with anger. His fists clenched, his jaw tightened, and he took a step toward Tyler. But then something unexpected happened. Marcus's shoulders sagged, and he collapsed into the chair next to Tyler. "You don't understand," Marcus whispered. "If anyone finds out, they'll take me away from my mom. And then who's going to protect her?" Tyler reached over and put his hand on Marcus's arm. "Maybe if people know the truth, they can help protect both of you." What followed was the most heartbreaking conversation I've ever witnessed. Marcus, with Tyler's gentle encouragement, began to tell us about his life at home. His father was an alcoholic who became violent when he drank. His mother worked 2 jobs to try to make ends meet, but she was small and fragile and couldn't defend herself when Marcus's father got angry. "I learned that if I made Dad mad at me instead of Mom, she'd be safe," Marcus explained. "And then I figured out that if I acted tough at school, people would leave me alone and not ask questions about why I was always tired or why I had bruises." "But Marcus," Principal Rodriguez said gently, "your behavior at school has hurt other children. They've been afraid of you." Marcus looked genuinely surprised. "I never actually hurt anyone. I just acted scary so they'd stay away." "But intimidation is a form of harm, too. Other students have been afraid to come to school because of your behavior." Marcus looked stricken. "I didn't know. I thought if I kept everyone away, I was protecting them from getting involved in my mess." Tyler spoke up then, with a wisdom that seemed far beyond his 12 years. "Marcus, I understand why you did what you did, but there are people who want to help. You don't have to carry this alone anymore. What if they can't help? What if making a report just makes things worse for my mom?" Tyler looked at Principal Rodriguez. "What happens when someone reports abuse? Does the kid automatically get taken away?" Principal Rodriguez explained the process, how social services would investigate, how there were resources to help families stay together while addressing the abuse, how Marcus and his mother could get support and protection. "The goal isn't to break up families, Marcus. The goal is to make families safe." Over the next hour, Principal Rodriguez, the school social worker who had joined us, and a representative from Child Protective Services who had been called, worked out a plan to help Marcus and his mother. Marcus would stay with a foster family temporarily, while his mother received support to leave his father safely. There were resources available: shelters, legal aid, counseling, job training programs. "What about school?" Marcus asked. "Everyone here hates me." Tyler spoke up immediately. "I don't hate you. And once people understand what you were going through, I think they'll see you differently." Principal Rodriguez nodded. "Marcus, we're going to work on repairing the relationships you've damaged at school. It won't be easy and it will take time, but Tyler has shown us that you're worth fighting for." The next week at school was surreal. Word had gotten out that Marcus Williams was in foster care and that there was more to his story than anyone had realized. The reaction from students and parents was mixed. Some people were sympathetic and wanted to help. Others were skeptical, feeling that Marcus's home situation didn't excuse his behavior at school. Tyler found himself in an unexpected position. He became Marcus's advocate and interpreter, helping other students understand what Marcus had been going through. "It doesn't make what he did okay," Tyler explained to a group of kids at lunch, "but it helps us understand why he did it. And understanding is the first step to helping someone change."
Marcus, with Tyler's support, began the difficult process of apologizing to the students he had intimidated. These weren't easy conversations. I watched one of these apologies happen when I picked Tyler up from school. Marcus approached a sixth grader named Danny, who had been one of his frequent targets. "Danny, I want to apologize for how I treated you this year. I know I scared you and made you not want to come to school sometimes. That was wrong, and I'm sorry." Danny looked confused and wary. "Why should I believe you're sorry now?" Marcus looked at Tyler, who nodded encouragingly. "Because I understand now that hurting other people doesn't actually protect anyone. It just spreads the hurt around. And you didn't deserve to be hurt because of my problems." Over the following weeks, something remarkable began to happen. Marcus, freed from the constant stress of protecting his mother and hiding his family's secrets, began to show who he really was underneath all that defensive anger. He was actually quite smart. His grades had suffered because he was always exhausted and distracted, but when he could focus, he excelled in math and science. He was also surprisingly gentle. Tyler told me about seeing Marcus help a kindergartner who had fallen on the playground, carefully cleaning the child's scraped knee and walking him to the nurse's office. It's like he's been practicing taking care of people his whole life. He just didn't know how to do it in a healthy way.
Tyler and Marcus's friendship was unlike anything I'd ever seen. Tyler had seen past Marcus's tough exterior to the scared, protective boy underneath. And Marcus had found someone who understood that sometimes people do bad things for good reasons. They started eating lunch together, working on homework together, and Tyler even invited Marcus to spend weekends at our house while the social workers worked on a permanent placement for him. Watching them together, I was amazed by Tyler's maturity and compassion. He never made Marcus feel like a charity case or a project. He just treated him like a friend who had been through something difficult. Marcus's mother, Linda, was also making progress. With the support of social services, she had left Marcus's father and was living in a transitional housing program. She was getting counseling, job training, and legal help to ensure her ex-husband couldn't hurt her or Marcus anymore. I met Linda when she came to one of Marcus's school events. She was a small, quiet woman who looked like she'd been carrying the weight of the world on her shoulders. But when she saw Marcus laughing with Tyler and some other kids, her face lit up with a joy I suspected she hadn't felt in years. "I can't thank Tyler enough," she told me. "Marcus has been trying to protect me since he was 7 years old. He's been carrying burdens no child should carry. Tyler gave him permission to just be a kid again." Roosevelt Middle School also began to change its approach to discipline and student support. Principal Rodriguez implemented new training for teachers on recognizing signs of abuse and trauma in students. Tyler taught us that sometimes the most disruptive students are the ones who need the most help, she explained at a parent meeting. "We're learning to look beyond the behavior to understand what might be driving it." The school also started a peer mediation program with Tyler and Marcus as two of the first student mediators. They helped other kids work through conflicts and misunderstandings. Tyler's act of defending Marcus had created ripples throughout the entire school community. Other students began to look more carefully at their classmates who'd seemed difficult or different. A group of 8th graders started a lunch program for kids who didn't have enough food. A 7th grade girl began sitting with students who ate alone. Teachers started asking different questions when students acted out. Tyler showed us that everyone has a story, one of his classmates told me, and sometimes the people who seem the meanest are actually the most hurt.
6 months after that phone call from Principal Rodriguez, I was sitting in the same office for a very different reason. Tyler and Marcus were both receiving an award for their work as peer mediators and their positive impact on school climate. As I watched Tyler accept his award, I thought about how much I'd learned from my 12-year-old nephew about courage, compassion, and the complexity of human behavior. Tyler had seen something that all the adults missed. He had looked past Marcus's aggressive behavior to see the scared, protective child underneath. And in doing so, he had saved not just Marcus, but potentially dozens of other students who might have been hurt by Marcus's pain if it had continued to go unaddressed. But the most important lesson wasn't about bullying or school discipline or even child abuse. It was about the power of one person choosing to see beyond the surface, to look for the story behind the behavior, to offer compassion instead of judgment. Tyler had taught me that sometimes the people who seem the strongest are actually the most broken. Sometimes the people who push others away are the ones who most desperately need someone to stay. Sometimes defending the bad guy is the most heroic thing you can do. Marcus still struggles sometimes. Healing from trauma doesn't happen overnight, and learning new ways to cope with stress and conflict is an ongoing process. But he's surrounded by people who understand his story and support his growth. Tyler continues to amaze me with his wisdom and empathy. He's become something of a legend at Roosevelt Middle School, the kid who saw past the surface and changed everything. But when I asked Tyler about it, he just shrugs. I didn't do anything special, Aunt Sarah. I just paid attention. Everyone deserves to have someone pay attention to them. There's one more thing I learned from this experience that I want to share with you, something that Tyler told me months later that put everything in perspective. Aunt Sarah, do you want to know why I really defended Marcus that day? I thought you told me, because you understood what he was going through at home. Tyler shook his head. That's part of it. But the real reason is because I know what it feels like to be alone and scared and have everyone think you're okay when you're really not. I looked at Tyler with new understanding. Because of your mom being deployed? Yeah. Everyone at school thinks I'm fine because I get good grades and don't cause trouble. But inside, I'm scared all the time. Scared that something will happen to Mom overseas. Scared that I'm too much trouble for you. Scared that I don't really belong anywhere. Tyler wiped his eyes. When I saw Marcus getting picked on, I saw myself. Not the tough, scary version, but the scared, alone version. And I thought, if someone stood up for me when I was scared, maybe I could stand up for him. That's when I realized the most important truth of all. Tyler didn't just defend Marcus because he saw past Marcus's tough exterior. He defended Marcus because he recognized something of himself in that scared, defensive boy. Tyler understood that we all have different ways of dealing with pain and fear. Some people, like Tyler, become quiet and compliant. Others, like Marcus, become loud and aggressive. But underneath, we're all just trying to survive whatever difficult situation we're facing. The phone call that started this whole story, your nephew defended a bully, wasn't really about bullying at all. It was about two boys who found each other in their pain and chose connection over isolation, understanding over judgment, courage over conformity. Today, Tyler and Marcus are still best friends. Marcus lives with a wonderful foster family who understands his history and supports his healing. His mother has rebuilt her life and sees Marcus regularly in a safe, supervised environment. The school has implemented new programs for identifying and supporting students who are dealing with trauma. Teachers receive training on recognizing the signs that a problem student might actually be a student with problems. And Tyler continues to be the kind of person who sees beyond the surface, who chooses compassion over convenience, who stands up for people even when it's difficult or unpopular. The next time you encounter someone who seems difficult, aggressive, or unlikable, I want you to remember Tyler and Marcus's story. Ask yourself, what might this person be protecting?
What fear might be driving their behavior? What would happen if someone showed them kindness instead of judgment? Because sometimes the person everyone calls a bully is actually the person who needs a friend the most. Sometimes the kid everyone avoids is the kid who's fighting the biggest battles. Sometimes defending the bad guy is exactly what a hero would do. Tyler taught me that real courage isn't about being fearless. It's about being afraid and choosing compassion anyway. It's about seeing past the surface to the human being underneath. It's about standing up for someone even when everyone else thinks you're wrong. But there's one more thing about this story that I haven't told you yet. Something that happened just last week that made me realize Tyler's impact reaches even farther than I thought. Because yesterday, I got another call from a school principal. But this time, it wasn't about Tyler or Marcus. It was about a completely different student in a completely different situation who had been inspired by Tyler's example to stand up for someone everyone else had written off. It seems Tyler's courage is contagious, and that gives me hope that maybe one kid at a time, we can change how we see each other, how we treat each other, and how we choose to respond when someone needs a defender. The phone call that started this whole story, your nephew defended a bully, ended up healing more hearts than I ever could have imagined. And it all started with a 12-year-old boy who chose to see the scared child behind the scary behavior. That's the power of looking beyond the surface. That's the power of choosing compassion. That's the power of one person deciding that everyone deserves to have someone in their corner, even the bullies, especially the bullies.